Evening, everyone. My name is Rafiki Traci Boiselle, and my topic this evening is expansion and contraction, part of our Baptiste methodology. So I hope you sit back and enjoy. I am very honored and beyond grateful to be able to take part in this journey along with you. I just completed my 200-hour training not that long ago, and it really changed my life. And now being able to teach is such a gift. So I hope that you share that same wonderful experience and find the great joy that I have as well. Let's get started. As Baron Baptiste says in the following quote, "What expands must contract. It is not sustainable to always be in a state of expansion. Contraction allows us to establish a foundation physically in our feet on the ground and mentally in what's really important to us, and then to make an intentional choice to expand out to new physical possibilities and beyond. Your breath is a perfect example of this at every moment. Your inhalation is a contraction in, and as you exhale, you expand out. Each is important and each gives you access to a new and different experience. Yoga is the practice of experiencing both fully, the inhalation and the exhalation, the balance of effort and ease, and the experience of contraction and expansion." So as you all know, our practice begins with the concept of true north alignment. And I'm sure that if you have not already seen that presentation, you'll be seeing it very shortly. But it's from this foundation, this true north alignment, that all of the expansion and possibilities of our practice begin. As we stand in Tadasana, as this lady in the picture, we are using our lower body, our feet pressed firmly into the ground, into the earth, and our quadriceps and our legs engaged from skin to muscle to bone, creating that strong and sturdy foundation from which we can grow upward and outward from our hips. In this pose, in true north alignment, you find the foundation. Your joints can flow like water. You build an inner fire. You soften like air, but you create space for something new. So as we take a moment to just place our feet firmly on the ground, begin from there. Press your feet firmly into your mat. Feel the ground beneath, the texture of your mat. Pressing your heels and those balls right under your big toe into the ground. Bringing the legs firm, skin to muscle to bone. The quadriceps engage, lifting the knees. The hips are directly above the knees, and the upper body can lift from there. Take your crown of your head just a little bit taller as you reach toward the ceiling, and feel the power and the extension in your body. True north alignment is just that. It's the true north, the place that we always come back to. The foundation in every pose, whether it's our feet on the ground or our hands on the ground, the feet, the hands, the Uddiyana Bandha, the inner fire is our foundation from which we can grow and expand. Throughout any day, any given moment of our lives, there are so many instances of expansion and contraction. As I began working on this presentation, I started to focus my mind and my energy into noticing places every day and every experience where there was expansion with contraction. As Baron said in the quote, we can't exist without one or the other. We can't just be in one and we can't just be in the other. We have to have them both working together. As you saw in the video, the caterpillar has to be willing to contract into the cocoon in order to expand out and become the butterfly. It has to trust that that contraction is going to lead to something so much bigger and a new opportunity for itself. Each day, our heart beating, contracting, and expanding. The heart beats on average 100,000 times per day. That's 100,000 expansion and contraction, just pumping blood throughout our body. Today, I took a 90-minute practice, and I took an estimate of my heart rate at about 90 beats per minute on average throughout the whole practice. So that is 3,800 expansions and contractions of the muscles of my heart. Our breathing, our lungs, as we breathe throughout our practice, we use our Ujjayi breath. As we breathe in, our ribs contract and our lungs contract to draw in air. And as we exhale, they expand. Let's take a moment now to just place our hands over our chest, close your eyes, sit up nice and tall. Again, bringing in that Uddiyana Bandha, that contraction of the abdominal area toward the spine that allows us to sit up nice and tall. We're going to take a few deep breaths in and out and see if we can feel our ribs and our lungs expanding and contracting. Close your eyes, just focus. Take a nice big deep breath in and an exhale out. Another big deep breath in. Expand the lungs, the ribs. Let the air flow in and exhale fully out. Let the ribs contract, the lungs contract as the air comes out all the way to empty. Two more. Big deep breath in. And a nice long exhale, contraction out. Last time, everyone together. Big deep breath in. Exhale out. The contraction, expansion of our ribs and lungs. Take a moment just to leave your hands here. Perhaps you can feel your heart beating. Again, as we said, expanding and contracting. In an average day, we take 20,000 breaths. That's 20,000 expansions and contractions of our lungs and rib cage, as well as our diaphragm. The bandhas are another example of a contraction that is required in order for us to find expansion in our poses. So we have the Jalalahara Bandha right below our chin, the Uddiyana Bandha right in the midsection, the belly button toward the spine, up and in. I'm sure you know about that. And the Mula Bandha. The bandhas are the way that we contract our body in certain controlled areas so that we can not only control the muscle movements around them, we can also control the flow of energy and the flow of breath. So bandha is another contraction. We use the bandhas in the bottoms of our feet as we stand into Tadasana or extended mountain pose. We use the bandhas in our hands as we use our hands in downward facing dog as we press into the mat so that we can lift our tailbones up and toward the ceiling. The muscles in our body overall are constantly expanding to allow contraction and contracting to allow expansion. Every single muscle in our body has an opposing muscle, a muscle that works with it. So for example, in our arm, we have our bicep and our tricep. And I'm sure you learned about those just recently in anatomy. We saw that you guys were doing anatomy. So when we contract our bicep here on top, our tricep has to expand or extend in order to allow this contraction to happen, right? So when we bend our knee, we stretch our quadricep, but we contract our hamstring. So those opposing muscles are always working together throughout the day, just in everyday activity, and especially when we are practicing our yoga. Every muscle will extend while another contracts. We use the bandhas to allow us to create that foundation, which allows us to grow up and out. We use the bandhas to find true north alignment, controlling the flow of energy and breath. Our heart is beating throughout the practice, in and out, contracting and expanding to pump blood through our body, and our lungs and rib cage and our diaphragm are doing the same, expanding and contraction. We need to be able to have both in order to do just everything that we do each day. Where in life can you create a firmer foundation? So we have in our mind every day our ideas and our beliefs. And as I thought about this topic throughout prepping for this video, I realized that in many ways there are places in my mind where I want to contract, where I want to have a firm foundation. These are the things that maybe my parents taught me or that I learned about my own beliefs and my own morals, my own just idea of what's right. I don't want to give up that firm foundation. I don't want to give up that contraction because those things are so valuable and important to us. However, every day we have the opportunity to come into new thoughts, to come into new mind space. And I think that's what the practice allows me to do quite often in my everyday life. When we feel that pause, say, for example, we're about to try something new. And today during my practice, my teacher, I was doing twisting triangle, and my teacher noticed that I always place my hand on the inside of my front leg. And he said, why don't I invite you to try to place your hand on the outside of your front leg? You can do it. But I had been stuck in this contraction in my mind where I thought that I was not flexible or strong enough to put my hand on the outside. It had to stay on the inside. And there was a moment when I was thinking, should I try this or should I not try this, where I felt everything close in. So when we have those moments of contraction before we try something new, it's natural. But it's not a signal for us to give up. What I discovered was that this is an opportunity for us to make a choice. So today in that twisting triangle, I could have stayed in the same old place with my hand on the inside of my foot, or I could try to reach my hand to the outside where it is really supposed to be in the pose. As I took that leap of faith and tried that new thing, and with the intent of growing in my practice, I felt a little nervous and a little wobbly, but I was actually able to do it. So that constriction, that contraction in my mind's eye and my thoughts was causing me to stay stuck where I was. And that was just a story. I was able to do the pose with my hands on the outside of my leg. So when we have that opportunity to make a choice, we have to decide, are we going to stay in contraction? Are we going to stay in our normal narrow view, our old stories, or are we going to expand and go out into something new? And this applies in our poses. It applies in everyday life. What you all are doing right now is a very amazing expansion. These times right now, I feel with COVID and the pandemic, it's a it's a huge opportunity where people could just contract because the world feels so scary and so confusing, and it would be very easy to contract, but you have all made the choice to take this training in a very difficult time. You've decided, instead of contracting and coming in, you're going to grow and expand out, and I am so proud of you all for that, and so grateful that I can be a part of it. As I said before, you have amazing opportunities ahead of you, just for taking that leap, that one moment of pause and saying, yes, I can do this. From I am firm in my foundation, I am strong, and I can expand out, and I can try something new. I would like you to take a time when you have some free moments, or you're just alone by yourself, to perhaps practice some inquiry. I did do this myself, and it was very informative and very interesting. So when you have a moment, take a journal and journal a response to the following questions. Where in your life could you create a firmer foundation? And where in your life could you take the opportunity to allow expansion? I challenge you to move forward from this moment, just as we do at the end of our practice, right? At the end of Journey into Power, we roll onto our right side in a fetal position, and we take a moment of pause there in that contraction. And in that contraction, in that moment, we become grateful. We feel our practice. We feel how our mind and our body have changed from our practice. We also are able to come from that contraction, thanks to our practice and our intent and our dedication, to come off the mat and just expand and grow. And that's what we do when we come from that place at the end of our practice and we leave our mats. We leave, I leave a bigger person, a more standing tall person, a more secure person, a more confident person. And I hope that that is the same experience that you have. So throughout this next few days or weeks, just take a look around and see how many times you experience contraction and expansion. Necessary, each of them, and each of them an opportunity. Where can you create a firm foundation, and where can you allow for expansion? Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share this topic with you, the topic of expansion and contraction. And don't forget the caterpillar at the beginning of the video. In order to change his life and fly and become a butterfly, he had to be willing to contract into his cocoon and trust that at the end of that time of darkness and contraction, there would be a whole new experience of flying, of being a butterfly. Together we bow and say, Namaste.